Welcome to Kinky Knots Cafe, Proactive is the Way, where we provide you tools and resources to enhance your mind, body, and spirit. Get ready, folks. Let us nurture you from the inside out.
He who has a why to live can bear with almost any how. Friedrich Nietzsche. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to our summer reading of The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. How is your summer reading going? I hope that you are enjoying our featured book for the summer. I know that I am. Before I begin, I want to provide my personal experience as I read these next set of chapters. These chapters are negatively skewed, and you may find yourself wanting to put the book down and walk away. However, I would like to challenge you to keep pursuing the knowledge and rise above rhetoric that is designed to make you believe and feel that this author is speaking directly to you. The reality is that each one of us possesses an element of the traits in which he highlights in each chapter. And we need to be cognizant of where we fall on that spectrum and possess a level of awareness that wherever we fall, there are strategies that exist which will help to guide us to develop an awareness of these traits, not only for ourselves but within others, maintain balance, and eliminate the ones that no longer serve us or others. Overall, understand that these traits highlighted in each chapter were designed to help create a sense of awareness through self-reflection, acquiring knowledge on how to identify certain traits that may exist within us, when to be vigilant, and the steps in which we can take to overcome or protect ourselves. Let me share that I love how this author starts off each chapter with a story taken from history of a notable figure who would rise and oftentimes fall from grace. Each story hits home to help serve as the foundation and provides us a level of understanding to grasp the full concept of the particular law in which the author explores. In a way, helping to set the tone and rationalize his perspective. While the author is excellent at this approach, please be mindful that his use of stories and analysis is just one perspective, and that we can view these concepts and ideas from a different way if we choose a different story or have different life experiences. Everything is based on one's perspective. And as the Dalai Lama has shared, not everything we experience or sees is as it seems. All right, so let's dive in. In the next 5 chapters, 8 through 13, we explored sabotaging behaviors, understanding the duality of our human nature by venturing on the dark side, exploring our masculine and feminine traits and the benefits and drawbacks of each. We also explored our ego and the impact of our envious behavior or desire to exacerbate our grandiose behaviors. Then we wrapped up with a step-by-step guide on strategies to overcome aimlessness and truly develop a high sense of purpose. In Chapter 8, the law of self-sabotage. The author helps us to understand that our life experiences are what sets the tone for our perceptions of the world. He shares that we like to imagine that we have an objective knowledge of the world. We take it for granted that what we perceive on a daily basis is the reality which should be the same for everybody. But this is an illusion. No two people see or experience the world in the same way. What we perceive is our personal version of reality, one that is of our own creation. To realize this is a critical step in developing a sense of awareness of our nature. Each of us sees the world through a particular lens that colors and shapes our perceptions, in which we leverage to develop a belief system and justify our behavior. We will call this belief system and our responses based on that system our attitude. What we must understand about our attitude is not only how it colors our perceptions, but also how it actively determines what happens to us in life, our health, our relations with people, and our success. It can have a self-fulfilling dynamic. In order to get our arms around this, the author states that our task as a student of human nature is, first, we must become aware of our own beliefs and responses thereof, and how it slants our perceptions. Once we have a good feel for the makeup of our own system, its negative or positive bend, we have much greater power to alter it, to move it more in the positive direction. Second, we must not only be aware of the role of our attitude, but also believe in its supreme power to alter our circumstances. He shared that we are not a pawn in a game controlled by others, and that we are an active player who can move the pieces at will and even rewrite the rules. Who knew? Next, Greene takes us through each type of attitude that exists and how to deal with each type. In each chapter, this is the meat and potatoes of the book. Here, you will find an author that not only highlights the areas to consider, but gives you a blueprint on how to identify and implement a plan for success. In Chapter 9, The Law of Repression, the exploration of our dark side. This was such an intriguing chapter as we explored our dark side. Per the author, did you know that to some degree, each one of us has a dark side? In this chapter, the author shares that we are rarely who we seem to be, and that lurking beneath our external being is a shadow of sorts that we tend to repress. Shadows of insecurities, aggressiveness, and selfish impulses that at times leaks out and has the potential to harm. In this chapter, he takes us through each type, how to recognize the signs, and how to actually tap into our dark side, leveraging it positively to help us become a more well-rounded and affable person. For example, if we possess suspicious tendencies, we can monitor our suspicious tendencies and the projection of our own negative emotions onto others. Or if you tend to be overtly ambitious and willing to do the most to get what you want, by admitting that you are ambitious, your desires for power, you can simmer down on all of that. Stop acting so stealthily to the point in which you end up experiencing the wrath of my ability to ignore your ignorance. Let me close this chapter on this quote by Nixon. Never get discouraged. Never be petty. Always remember others may hate you, but those who hate you don't win unless you hate them. And then you, my friend, destroy yourself. In Chapter 10, The Law of Envy. Please don't miss this core message. Where in God's great name did the author have time to find all of the types of envy that could exist in this world? In this chapter, you will explore passive and active envy. The author shares that of all the human emotions, none is trickier or more elusive than envy. He states that it is very difficult to actually discern the envy that motivates people's actions or to even know that we have suffered an envy attack from another. This is what makes it so frustrating to deal with and so dangerous. Envy is a painful emotion, an admission of our own inferiority, something rather unbearable. It is not an emotion we want to sit with and brood over. We like to conceal it from ourselves and not be aware that it motivates our actions. With envy comes the secret desire to hurt, wound, or steal from the envied person, to right the unfairness that comes with his or her supposed superiority. But in order for enviers to feel entitled to take harmful action, enviers must create a narrative. Everything the other person does reveals some negative trait. They do not deserve their superior position. He shared that even more so in our world today, we have got to understand this type of behavior. Why? Because people are much more political and indirect, able to control any overt aggressive impulses and disguise what they are feeling. Instead of violence, enviers are likely to sabotage our work, ruin a relationship, sully our reputation, torment us with criticisms that are aimed at our most basic insecurities. This allows them to maintain their social position while causing harm, their targets not even expecting envy as the motivation. They can justify these actions to themselves as righting the perceived imbalance or unfairness. Our goal is to detect the signs of these acute forms of envy before it turns dangerous. And Robert shares 3 ways to detect the signs. Listen up, folks. You can never see all of the actions motivated by envy. People are simply too good at disguising it. But using all of the decoding devices that Robert provides will increase our chances of detection. In Chapter 11, The Law of Grandiosity, the author kicks things off with sharing how we think our don't stink. We have a deep need to think highly of ourselves, and if that opinion of our goodness, greatness, and brilliance diverges enough from reality, we become grandiose. We imagine our superiority. Often, a small measure of success will elevate our natural grandiosity to even more dangerous levels. Our high self-opinion has now been confirmed by events. We forget the role that luck may have played in the success or the contribution of others. We imagine we have the golden touch. Losing contact with reality, we make irrational decisions. That is why our success often does not last. He advises that we should look for signs of elevated grandiosity in ourselves and in others, and counteract the pull of grandiosity by maintaining a realistic assessment of ourselves, our limits, and theirs. In Chapter 12, The Law of Gender Rigidity. This needs to be a class. He needs to go deeper on this one because I believe in our world we have lost the understanding that we are dual in nature. Of course, it's to be expected when we genderize. Yes, I made that word up. when we genderize everything. I really loved this chapter as it helped me to appreciate my masculine and feminine attributes without having to lose who I am. But he shares that far too often we need to present a consistent identity in society. And so we tend to repress our dual nature. And in doing so, we over-identify with the masculine or feminine role expected of us, or completely change our identities. And as a result, we pay a price for this. And really, folks, this is not even necessary. He shares how we lose valuable dimensions to our character. Our thinking and ways of acting become rigid. Our relationships with members of the opposite sex suffer as we project onto them our own fantasies and hostilities. Greene shares that we must become aware of these lost masculine or feminine traits and slowly reconnect to them, and as a result have the ability to unleash our creative powers in the process. He believes that if we can learn to attune in both our masculine and feminine qualities, we will become more fluid in our thinking and more authentic versus playing the expected gender role and losing ourselves in the process. In this chapter, we explored the gender types, such as the superior man or the fallen woman, and learned how to dive into our unconscious state of mind, which contains untapped creative treasures. In Chapter 13, The Law of Aimlessness, I highlighted this whole chapter. The number of pearls dropped in this chapter was so enriching. I could not get enough of Robert. In this chapter, Greene walks us step by step on how to go from hopelessness to a purpose-driven life by discovering our calling in life and using such knowledge to guide us in our decisions. We learned about how we can come to know ourselves more deeply and trust ourselves, which helped us to know which battles and detours to avoid. We learned how to face our failures and understand its purpose in our plight, and how to leverage these failures to toughen up, create momentum and direction to the point we generate an unstoppable force. The strategies he provided to help us develop a high sense of purpose and detect when false senses of purpose try to sneak in, sometimes knowingly and unknowingly, were profound. Good stuff, folks. I hope you had your treasure chests open today, snatching up all these pearls of wisdom Robert was dropping on us today. That's a wrap. Join us in 2 weeks as we continue our discussions and discuss from a personal perspective chapters 8 through 13. We look forward to you joining us. And in preparation for our discussions, please visit Kinky Knots Cafe's approved book list to pick up a copy of the book, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. Details are enclosed in the description. To access all replays or learn more about Kinky Knots Cafe's Proactive is the Way, please visit www.kinkyknotscafe.com. Proactive is the way, my friends. Take good care.